I predicted it, I said it was gonna happen, and now it has happened, and we need to talk about it. Y'all, I have so much news to share with you this week. So many things happened, like just this past week, that I feel like are newsworthy, and that doesn't happen every single week. But this one, the first one, where we're starting, is actually something that I'm pretty sure we all kind of predicted it last week. Jaclyn Torrey, aka Jaclyn Hill, has been making the rounds on a bunch of different podcasts. We talked last week in a full-length video about her appearance on Avery Woods' podcast. She's a TikToker, and how many lies she told throughout that podcast. We also touched on the podcast that she did over with Laura Lee and Manny MUA on the Full Coverage podcast. And we touched a tiny bit on a podcast called The Squeeze by Taylor and Taylor Lautner. But where we left the cliffhanger was that there was going to be a part two. And part two was going to be all about the lipsticks. And the prediction was based on the idea that Jaclyn tells the story of her lipsticks differently depending on who she's talking to and how much background knowledge they have about what actually happened. For example, when she's talking to Laura and Manny, she can only lie so much because Laura and Manny were very active in the beauty space during that time and they saw what went down go down. But when she was on Avery's podcast, even though Avery was there during everything, she was watching from a fan perspective, from someone that purchased the lipsticks, found nothing wrong with them, and continues to be a Jaclyn Hill fan. Now, the prediction was that on Taylor and Taylor's podcast, it was going to be similar to Avery's in that the male Taylor Lautner admitted that he had never watched one of Jaclyn's videos before. I will admit, I thought it was going to be worse than it was, and I'm actually really glad that it wasn't that bad. But that being said, I do want to point out a couple of ways that she changed the story for Taylor and Taylor just from the week prior when she was interviewed by Avery. It is fascinating how this woman can tell the story, the exact same story, three different ways to three different people with different kinds of wording and different sets of alternative facts. So, of course, we're going to be talking about that. And speaking of podcasts, the original makeup guru, founder of Ipsy, founder of M Cosmetics, Michelle Phan, is starting her own podcast. If you are not familiar with who Michelle has presented herself to be as a person, you may think this is just going to be another lighthearted makeup-related podcast. Oh no, Michelle is a very interesting person. The last time I heard anything from her publicly, there were allegations that she was in a cult. So according to an article in Glossy, she is planning on addressing those allegations. I have everything we know about that so far. Beauty events like Michelle's Baby Generation Beauty by Ipsy have not returned since 2020, but BeautyCon is trying. BeautyCon has been trying. They do have one coming up. I'm very curious to hear what you think about what they're planning for it. I definitely have my own opinions. And of course, beyond that, we have some business news. We have some legal news, including a new class action lawsuit that's pending. And like I mentioned, there's just so much that I want to tell you, so hang tight. We're about to get into it right now. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to What's Up in Makeup, where we talk about everything that happened in the beauty space, in beauty news, all in one place. I have taken the time and done all of the research and compiled it all for you in a nice, neat little package so you don't have to do any searching. I've done it all, and it is all here for you. If you were enjoying What's Up in Makeup or any of my other content, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button. Number one, because it makes me look cool. Like when my number goes up, it makes me look cool. Also, it puts my videos in your subscription feed on YouTube to tell you when I've uploaded a new video. And unlike other subscriptions that you hear about everywhere, subscriptions on YouTube are absolutely free. You can subscribe to as many channels as you want at no charge. When people hear subscription, sometimes they're like, oh, how much does it cost? Absolutely free here on YouTube. And in order to subscribe, all you got to do is hit that little subscribe button right below this video, and that will put my videos in the future just into your subscription feed when you want to go look for them. Now let's jump into this Jaclyn Torrey situation over on The Squeeze. For some context, Jaclyn and her husband Jordan met Taylor and Taylor through a mutual friend, and they became friends after that. They became such good friends that when Jordan and Jaclyn were looking for a house to move to in Los Angeles, Taylor and Taylor actually went house hunting for them and found the house that Jaclyn and Jordan now live in. They are that close of friends. However, they are new friends, and in them being new friends, they don't have the history. And, Taylor being a celebrity, he's probably naturally skeptical of the media and of public perception of celebrities. So I get that they're both taking Jaclyn's word at face value, and I think Jaclyn knows that and is manipulating them. Let me just, we're going to go into how she's manipulating the story. It's very interesting. Before we get into it, I want to kind of make a little disclaimer to try to explain something that was asked very frequently in the comments on the last video that I put up last week, fact-checking Jaclyn. And the big question was, Jen, why are you still talking about this? And the reason why I'm still talking about this is because Jaclyn is still talking about this. She is actively choosing to go on podcasts right now in real time, and she is actively lying about what happened. And people that are new to the beauty space, or people that just didn't tune into the other side of what happened and only took Jaclyn's opinion at face value, do not know this information. Therefore, as a makeup news show, I feel like it's important to fact check and make sure that the public knows what's real and what's not. And at that point, as long as I've given you the information, you can do with it whatever you choose. If you would still love to support Jaclyn, if you listen to this and you don't care about any of it, oh my gosh, that is 100% your right. But at least I've done my job to make sure you have that information. I'm a little heated about this because it's so frustrating to me. If you are mad that I am bullying Jaclyn, I want you to think about what that actually means, because I am not insulting her. I am not taking any low blows. I am not making fun of her in any way. All I'm doing is giving you information based on what we know about a situation, things we saw with our own eyes, either in photo or video evidence or in legally filed court documents. I'm just presenting those to you. I am presenting the facts for you to do what you want. That is not bullying, my friend. It is not bullying, it is giving information. And just as a little side note, if you leave a comment that says that you have never bought a Jaclyn product and you're never a Jaclyn fan, but you are calling me a hater, I don't believe you, you're lying. And you can stop with that nonsense, okay? You don't need to do that, all right? Just don't lie. It's okay to be a Jaclyn fan. It's fine. But think about what you're saying and think about whether it's actually accurate. And with that being said, let's go on and let's talk about what Jaclyn actually said in this interview.
I worked on my lipsticks, I want to say for 5 years. I put money aside for 5 years. I mean, from the time that I started making like substantial money, like more than just what my bills required, I was putting money to the side because I wanted to create my own line. And as I'm meeting with these labs, I'm gaining more and more followers, millions and millions of more people, higher engagement, higher sales. And I'm seeing my sales through Morphe, and I'm seeing like the power that I had of talking about a product. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Like I was started off, I was originally told it's going to cost $80,000 to launch the lipstick that you want to launch. I'm like, okay, $80,000 for business. Okay. Well then, within 5 years, they're like, it's going to be more like 1.6 million, because we're looking at my sales and how much I'm selling. So like when I would talk about, a product with Morphe, we would see how much would come in sales. And I'm like, oh my God. And if it's my own brand, what's it going to be? So I invested my own money and started my own brand, and I got partners, okay? Got partners right before we launched. Thank God.
I actually really love this part of the interview because it gives some background into why Jaclyn, in fact, did not invest all of her own money to start Jaclyn Cosmetics. Like we talked about last week, I do believe that she probably purchased the outer component of the lipstick tube. But we do have court document evidence that Morphe paid for the product that went into those tubes. But this story really illustrates why Jaclyn at the time did not want to own her own brand. And it lays it out beautifully. I actually really appreciated what I feel to be honesty in this part. But then she goes on to ruin it and talks about how she got partners right before the launch. Of course, we have court document evidence that Jaclyn did not own Jaclyn Cosmetics, that they were not partners. They were the owners, that she was never a CEO, that she was just licensing her name and earning royalties and commission from the sale of the products. She was the face of the brand, but she was not the owner. If you would like to know more about that in more detail, covered it in depth last week. That video will be linked down below for you.
For a
newbie like me,
Yeah.
can you fill me in on what happened?
Yes. So I worked on my lipsticks for years, okay? Like
Yeah.
redoing formulas, changing colors. I'm like, I just want it to be so perfect. Like I know that I'm going to sell so many. They have to be perfect. I'm such a perfectionist. Keep in mind at this point of my life, I had basically not even ever done a sponsorship or a brand partnership. I think I had done a total of 2 my entire career. I did one with Ulta and I did one with a eyelash company. And that's it. I literally did not take sponsorships or partnerships because I just wanted my audience to know how authentic I was.
Yeah.
Like I remember loving a blush, like loving this one blush. And a company reached out to me. The company of this blush reached out to me and offered me a huge amount of money to talk about this blush. Even though I loved it, I turned it down. Because I'm like, just my audience knowing that they're paying me to talk about it, it's going to come off unauthentic.
Yeah.
And they're not going to believe me. And my audience believing in me has always been my number one thing.
Yeah.
To the point that I did not even monetize my videos for several years on YouTube, which is actually insane.
Yeah.
But I did not monetize and put ads in my videos for like 4 years because I didn't want people to think that the only reason I was posting a YouTube video is just for the money and just for the ad clicks. So that's where my head was at. Can you tell I'm a people pleaser and I really want my audience to know how authentic I am?
Yeah.
I've always been so grateful for this job and the income that comes with it that I'm like, it's okay. I don't have to make that much money because I just want my audience to like believe in me and trust me so that there's longevity in this career.
This is a different take that we haven't heard before. This is a different perspective, the altruistic, the I have dedication to my fans perspective. And it's really interesting because she's leaving out a ton of information here. She's leaving out how much money she was making off of affiliate commissions. Maybe they weren't technical sponsorships because typically a sponsorship is a prepaid amount of money that you are given in order to make content, but she was making a significant amount of money in affiliate commissions because it wasn't just the Morphe code Jack Attack she was using at the time.
My normal discount code Jack Attack is normally for 10%, and that is an affiliation code, but they are going to up it to an extra 5% for you guys just for a limited time of 5 days for those of you who really, really wanted to get this palette, but you couldn't.
It was also affiliate codes that she was using with many brands like Makeup Geek, like Gerard Cosmetics. I'm sure there were many, many more, and I have reason to believe that she was making tens of thousands of dollars off of each of these codes monthly. The reason why I believe this is because earlier in that very podcast, in this very segment, Jaclyn's talking about how she saw how many sales were coming in from Morphe specifically, and she knew she couldn't handle doing this business all by herself.
Millions and millions of more people, higher engagement, higher sales. And I'm seeing my sales through Morphe and I'm seeing like the power that I had of talking about a product.
She knew she couldn't do that because she saw those sales coming in. She was using code Jack Attack at the time. And we know because of the court documents that Jaclyn at the time was earning a 15% commission on those sales. So I don't know, of course, the exact number, but Jaclyn said it was a lot, so much that she knew she couldn't handle her own brand and that she was earning 15% commission on that whole lot. Hello, editing Jen here. I realized as I was putting in the screenshot that we actually do not have court evidence of how much Jaclyn was getting paid on unlicensed products. We just have on the products that had her name on them. But I would imagine, which is all we can do, that the percentage of 15% is similar for the licensed versus the unlicensed products. We do not have solid evidence of this, but what we do have is over many years, many influencers talking about how much money they made off of their Morphe codes. That's why so many people wanted to work with them and why so many people work with them for so many years, is because it was an extremely lucrative code. And that's really the point, not the specific number or specific percentage. I just wanted to clarify that to make sure that I was being as factual as possible. Now back to the video. I don't know if Jaclyn was taking any formal sponsorships, but what I do know is this is extremely deceptive how she's wording this, because she's making it sound like she was only creating content for the love of her subscribers because she loved doing it and not for the money, which is not accurate at all. Also keep in mind that she had other collaborations that she'd done either before Morphe, during the early parts of when she was collaborating with Morphe. She had a collaboration with Gerard Cosmetics. She had multiple collaborations with Becca Cosmetics, some of them going better than others, but I do know the original face palette, that one seemed to go very, very well. So that, I would say, is a sponsorship when you are creating collaboration product. I don't know, the language isn't legal. So, but what I do know is that it is misleading. She's currently actively in this moment misleading Taylor and Taylor into making them think that she wasn't making as much money as she was, almost to make them feel like she was being such a good and honorable person at the time and only doing it for her fans, which is inaccurate. And I don't understand why she's not being honest, because there is nothing wrong with wanting to make money. We should all want to make money, unless she has something to be ashamed of. There's no reason to hide this information unless there's some kind of shame there for some reason. And I don't know why she would be ashamed unless there was some dishonesty happening there somehow. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. And as for her not monetizing her channel for 4 years, we know that's inaccurate because it's different than what she told Avery 2 weeks ago.
So how long into doing it were you like, okay, I can quit Mac and I can do this full time?
Okay, so I was on YouTube. Okay, I'm trying to really do my math here. It would have been about a year.
Okay.
That I was on YouTube for.
Wow.
And I was working at Mac, obviously, at the time. And I told my mom I want to quit. I told my brother, I told everybody. Nobody was in support except for my mom.
Okay.
My friends, everyone, they were like, that's really stupid. And I was like, no, I think that I can grind. Like, I made $3,000 that month.
You're
okay.
like, slay.
I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. I made $3,000 this month. And that same month, I had made a few hundred less at Nordstrom. So I put in my 2 weeks, I left, and the next month I made 12 grand. So I went from 3 grand that month to 12 the next. And I was like, I got this.
So yeah, she's lying to them. What's so sad about this is a new friendship, and she's lying to them already.
We sold hundreds of thousands of SKUs, and there was defects in them. There was air bubbles in some. There was little white fuzzies on some. They weren't perfect. After, my team did a deep dive on everything, factually what happened was 2% of them were considered defective, but that 2% was so loud on the internet that you would think that I released like 5 million lipsticks covered in hair. It got so bad. There were so many videos of people talking about these, claiming that there was animal hair in them, that there was feces in them, that there was mold in them, that they were making people sick.
Glass, plastic.
Allow me to present to you the video evidence of the hairs being pulled out of her lipsticks. Allow me to present to you the microscope slide presented by Cassandra Bankson that showed that the hair that she pulled out of her lipstick was animal hair. Cassandra believed it to be a rat hair. And here is the video evidence of Alex from Pretty Pastel Please pulling metal out of her lipstick.
No.
it's rock solid. Oh my god, is this plastic? No. What about this one? Sophia. Oh, this is the one that has the fleck. Look, look, look. Look at that. Look, see how I move it? When I move it, you can see, clear as day, that is reflective. That's definitely metal. Oh, perfect photo. You can see it clear as day. All right. What are you? Okay, so I've put the tape over it so you can't quite see it as well with the tape over, but feeling it, it's rock solid. That's not glitter, it's like 3-dimensional. There's definitely something to that. That's like a piece of metal. Will I find anything else? Look, you probably can't tell. On the end of the pin there is another little reflective metal bit.
I don't understand why she is saying that something happened when there's literal photo and video evidence that it was something else. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
But don't get me wrong, some of them were defective, period, 100%. And what drove me crazy internally is I never was able to get to the bottom of it. I'm not a chemist. I'm not in the lab making these lipsticks.
Yeah.
Taylor's like, wait, what?
This is the part where I'm confused.
Yeah, give it to me.
I get how this would, hurt and destroy you, but I don't. Do people think you purposely did this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Do people think that you are the person in the factories, like in charge of
Yes.
everything?
Yes.
That's where I'm confused.
And that's
Okay.
that's the biggest thing about the industry that our dear friend is in, is it is an unforgiving.
Yeah.
No, like I just feel like the makeup world is just like, for some reason
It's the Wild West.
They
I guess-
say, have you ever heard the beauty community is the ugliest one?
I haven't, but that's
It's like
true.
a very known thing. It's sad.
Jaclyn is leaving something out here. And what she's leaving out is that, yes, there was some initial outrage about the lipsticks being contaminated in the beginning. But what made it so much worse and why it got so bad was because of Jaclyn's lies and manipulation afterward. I totally get Taylor's confusion here. I feel like it's valid. I completely get where he's coming from, but I think the reason why he doesn't understand is because Jaclyn's just not telling him the whole truth about what happened.
I talked to the owner, I'm talking to the chemist, and everyone's like, no, there's not mold. It is scientifically impossible. And I'm like, well, there's this video with 6 million views where they test it and they are saying that there is mold in these lipsticks. And I'm losing my mind. They're like, it is scientifically, the chemists are laughing. They're like, these people aren't chemists. There's no mold in this. And they're laughing and they're like, just don't watch those videos. I'm like, you don't get it. This is my whole world right now.
Again, mold was not the thing that was being found. It was hair, it was plastic, it was fibers that were embedded in the lipstick. They were literally in there and then sticking out. Like when I was little and I had the little Play-Doh, little hairstylist thing, and you would push the hair down and the Play-Doh would squirt out of its head. That was what was happening to the lipsticks. And she's leaving that out. And it's so frustrating. It was not just that there were fibers on top. It was not that. That is not real.
Jaclyn is not a public speaker. She's not a chemist. She'll sit here and tell you, she's like, I'm not meant to be a businesswoman or a business owner. So when you've got somebody who's panicked because their product that they've just spent the last 5-6 years, working on, it's their baby, they launch it, and then it literally gets shot down like this, she's in a panic herself because she doesn't have the answers, and she's relying on, partners and lab people and all these other people to get these answers. And she's just relaying the message to her followers in a panic. If we could go back in time, I think both of us would agree that if she had just like paused and been like, hey, give me a couple of weeks, let me get to the bottom of this, things would have went a lot differently. But because there was just this like panic and people demanding answers and all these crazy videos, like, dude, there were videos where people were like, had her lipsticks, they would sit them down and they were wearing hazmat suits with microscopes. like that. They took it that far, and these things were getting millions and millions of views. And she's just sitting on the couch bawling her eyes out, dude.
Scream crying.
This is another really highlight point that I wanted to put in here, in that I think that Jordan's absolutely right here. And I'm so glad that he said this, because I do feel like what he's saying would have been beneficial. And I think that would have been a good move, because that video that Jaclyn filmed after the lipstick came out, talking about the white fuzzies and all of that, that allegedly the lab that had made the lipsticks, the manufacturing facility, had told her that she spread that information, and people were like, are you kidding me? You're lying. I don't think it would have been as bad if she had just held off and waited until she had more information, put out a statement just like he said, saying, you know what, I don't know what happened. There's definitely something wrong. I don't know what happened. Please give me some time to investigate, and I will figure this out. In the meantime, if there's issues with yours, please take a picture, send it into customer service, and we will get you a refund right away. And then leaving it at that until she knew exactly what happened. But I understand feeling that pressure to answer right now, because that pressure really and truly was on her, really and truly, to answer as quickly as possible. And I think Jordan was absolutely right here. I do want to just give a quick shout out to Alex here. If you do not know, Alex from Pretty Pastel Please recently passed away, and it is such a sad story. The hazmat suit that she wore in that video was a joke. It was a joke. It was supposed to be funny, and it really was funny. And Alex was funny throughout the whole thing. And I can understand why Jaclyn didn't find it funny, but she was just presenting it in a unique way that was true to her personality of being kind of a goofball. I do want to send out my condolences to Alex's family, because she was such an energy on this platform. Her parents recently announced that she had a very rare heart condition that caused her death. Just absolutely horribly heartbreaking. So I just want to send a little bit of love out to Alex and her family.
This refund thing is crazy to me. I'm trying to process that in my brain. That is
The business in Taylor right now is literally panicking.
I know. It's a lot of people's reactions.
Do you stand by that decision? If you had it all over again, would you do that same thing?
Oh, it's such a hard question, and I've never actually thought about that. I would say no, because I would change the way I did every single thing. If I was forced to go relive that moment and launch those same lipsticks, I would change everything. Yeah. So I would say no. I probably would not do that refund.
Okay.
I would have taken that money, and I would have continued to create incredible products, which we did. But it was very hurtful and impactful to the company, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I played that part for you because I think it's a very interesting perspective, and I'd love to know what you think about it. I kind of think they have a point, because I think that they're right here that Jaclyn didn't really benefit from giving every single person a refund. And I do think it may have been a smarter business move to just refund people that complained, because I know that there were people that were absolutely fine and said that they didn't even want a refund. That was real. I saw that happening on social media. So refunding people that didn't want a refund, I feel like that was probably the kind thing to do. That was probably the forward facing best thing to do to try to salvage her reputation during all of this. But in the end, in hindsight, it really didn't help her. So I would love to know your thoughts on this. Do you feel like she should have refunded everybody, or just the people with complaints? I will tell you that I probably would not have asked for a refund. I just got it automatically. But truly, my lipsticks looked okay. I don't think I would have asked for a refund. And what's really fascinating about if she hadn't made the choice to give all of the refunds, they may have chosen to pay Oxygen, which would have taken care of that. And when Forma and Jaclyn Cosmetics and Morphe declared bankruptcy, if they had paid Oxygen, then Oxygen wouldn't have filed all of the receipts for the lipsticks, and we wouldn't have ever known that information. So in hindsight, if she hadn't given all those refunds and they had paid the lab for it, then that would have probably been the best outcome for them.
I just want to say that this past year, the biggest difference in myself that I've noticed is you can't cancel me now.
Ooh, that's a bar.
I'm being serious. I didn't mean for it to come off like that, but genuinely, that you can make any videos you want and make as much money off of, hating on me and speculating and whatever it may be. Because guess what? I have the option to shut down all my social medias and walk away. And I did literally not see that as an option ever.
Yeah.
My entire identity was in my online presence. And now my entire identity has nothing to do with that. That's something that I choose to do. I love my loyal followers. I'm so excited to share recommendations with them and have that online community and that presence. But like, I genuinely no longer look. I don't care. You have something to say about me. You don't know me. You can't cancel me. And if it gets really dark online and affects my mental health, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
From human being to human being, I kind of love this for her. I'm glad that she's finding her peace, but it also shows us that she's never going to take responsibility for anything, that she's separating herself from her public persona, and in that she never personally has to take any responsibility for what her public persona did. She's going to keep pushing on and lying and selling and lying some more. It's just, that's what this tells me is going to happen, which is absolutely her choice to do. I'm not a fan, but she obviously doesn't care what I think, which is totally fine. She can do what she wants. Just, is what it is. The entire podcast was about an hour and 20 minutes long. I will, of course, link both parts of the interview she did on the Squeeze in case you would like to watch them both. And watching everything in context, watching the whole thing, how it all played out so you can really develop your own opinions about it. But these were the clips that I felt like were relevant, makeup-related, relevant stories. And honestly, I don't think this interview was as bad as I thought it was going to be. The interview with Avery was so much worse as far as the amount of lies that she told. But I do find it very interesting how she approached the same story 3 completely different ways. To Avery, that's the story she tells her fans. To Manny and Laura, that's the story she tells her peers. And to Taylor and Taylor, that's the story she tells her new friends. And they're all slightly different, with slightly different things left out, slightly different things embellished. It's absolutely fascinating to me. And of course, like I mentioned when I first jumped into this, and now that you have all of the information that I can possibly give you, I can feel good knowing that I've given that to you and you have a choice to 100% do whatever you personally choose with it. But whatever you do, please do not go over to Jaclyn's videos and be cruel to her. Constructive feedback, telling her how you feel, that's one thing, but please don't go be cruel because that is never okay. And now that we're done talking about that podcast, we have another podcast to talk about, and I believe it's equally as fascinating. It's amazing to me that it wasn't that long ago when we didn't have podcasts. And, they're really good to listen to in the background when you're doing other things. Either you're driving or you're cooking or, folding laundry or whatever it may be. They're wonderful to listen to. So I understand the popularity of them. It kind of brings me back to like old school radio from before there was television. I feel like that's kind of the vibe that podcasts give. And I noticed that celebrities kind of take 2 different approaches to podcasts. Either they're guests on podcasts, kind of like Jaclyn was, or they are the ones running the podcast like Taylor and Taylor Lautner. The original beauty guru, Michelle Phan, the original, the very first, to my knowledge, person doing makeup on YouTube, Michelle Phan, has always done the former. She's always been the guest on the podcast. Until now, she is starting her own podcast, and it is called Afterglow. It actually goes live. The first episode goes live this Tuesday. I am super curious how she's going to take this because if you are not familiar with Michelle and who she's developed into being, she's got a great voice. She's got a wonderful podcast voice. It's very soothing. It's very calming. And she did some edited videos where they were kind of waxing poetic kind of thing. And they were very, just trying to have like deeper meaning. So I have a feeling that's where she's going to go with this podcast, is just that soothing voice and just talking about things that are super, super deep. But other than being known for those things, the last time she really made a splash in the headlines was when people, based on something she said, thought she was in a cult. The short story on that is that about 3 years ago, Michelle went to a retreat, and that retreat was hosted by a man named Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is a chiropractor, he is an international speaker, and he is also the owner of a supplement company. According to Michelle, the whole retreat was all about retraining your mind, and it focused really heavily on meditation. There was also sleep deprivation happening there, and also she claimed that a man came to the retreat in a wheelchair, and she healed that man's legs with her mind. Michelle did an interview with Glossy, and I will leave that link down below for you to read the entire interview, but essentially she feels like this period of time in her life was completely misrepresented of what actually happened. Here's what she told Glossy. She said, "Me pursuing the American dream as a content creator was great, but it came at a cost. The cost was my mental health, my spiritual health, and my emotional health. I wish I knew back then about all the things that I will have on my podcast." And then when speaking about the whole thing about healing somebody's legs in the retreat and everything, she said, "I actually lost so many brand deals because of that article. And I remember that at the time I was working with this PR agency and they were like, 'Don't say anything, Michelle.' And I listened to them. But I wish I did say something at the time. Because I didn't say anything, now people really think that is the narrative. And so this podcast is an amazing way for me to just really own my narrative. And this is something I tell so many creators, especially female creators." Apparently, she already has 10 of the podcasts recorded, and they will feature one-on-one conversations with experts across topics like meditation, sound healing, breath work, spirituality, influencing, the societal effects of internet culture, disordered eating, and body image. I will definitely be listening to this because I am very curious. I was able to meet Michelle a couple of times at Ipsy events, and she seemed like a very nice person, but again, they were just extremely brief. It was like, "Hi, hello." That was the end of the conversation. It was so fast. So I essentially don't have any one-on-one experience with talking to Michelle. So I'm really looking forward to listening to this, at least until it gets, I have a feeling it's going to get real heady and real, like, out of where my brain is willing to go as a science nerd. So we will see, but I'm definitely listening to episode 1. Are you planning on listening? I used to love beauty conventions. Actually, let me go get something. I'm going to show you something. Right behind my camera, right over there, these are hanging. Okay, these are my Generation Beauty name tag things from when I went to all of the events. So you can see this one is from the Toronto one. There's Michelle Phan there. This is from NYC 2015. I have all of my things. We would cross these off when we got like free goodies from different booths. You can see I didn't really collect a lot of them. I wanted to make sure the samples got to people who didn't get PR regularly. So I didn't go to many of the booths to get the samples, but anyway, so I went to so many of these things. I even have business cards still in here from collecting them from people. So yeah, I went to a lot of these events. I don't even remember how many I went to between Generation Beauty and IMATS. I went to so many from 2015 to 2019. I don't even know how many. I love these events because not only did I get to see other creators in person and meet them, but I also got to meet people that watched my channel and enjoyed it. I also got to touch base with brands and talk to them about new product releases and things I loved about their brand, and they would ask me questions. It was fabulous. It was really fun, but 2020 kind of killed that in that Ipsy Live never came back. Generation Beauty, it was Michelle's baby. Michelle had created it, and Michelle left Ipsy many years ago, so I can understand why the people that run Ipsy now didn't continue it. IMATS did come back, but they made it pretty clear pretty early on they weren't the biggest fan of influencers and, you know, creators and their fans coming to IMATS. They wanted makeup artists there, which I get. Influencers were creating chaos and all of that, but instead of like trying to organize it in a way that everybody could be happy being there, they just made people not feel welcome, which was a choice, but that was their choice. So it's just not the same as it was. And of course, Sephora has come back, but that's more like brand focus. It's not the same. It's not the same as Gen Beauty was. An event that was very similar to Generation Beauty was BeautyCon, but they had a huge mess of an event in 2019. It was like the worst timing ever to have this terrible, complaints about their event. Sierra Schultze was kind of the front person saying what had happened to her there, and it was most of the complaints about that event were due to elitism and people just being treated differently. And what made it worse is that the person who was running BeautyCon at the time, they doubled down on the elitism and they supported the people that were making the decisions to make other people feel terrible. And they publicly did that. So when 2020 hit, they really struggled. And then in 2021, BeautyCon was sold to Essence Ventures, which owns Essence Magazine. Last year, BeautyCon did try to have an event, but it went very poorly, according to the people that attended. Basically, people were complaining that they had oversold the tickets, that it was extremely crowded, that there weren't enough food and drink options for everybody, and also that there really wasn't a whole lot to do, that they had paid money for these tickets. They went into an overcrowded space and they really were ready to go after about 30-45 minutes. This is unlike a Generation Beauty where honestly, I never felt like I had enough time. I always felt like there was so much to do that I had to really manage my time and make sure I made it to all the places I wanted to make it to. But BeautyCon is not giving up, as they shouldn't. And there's actually one that they're planning right now, and tickets just went on sale, and that's why we're talking about it. And this time they do have a little bit of help in organizing and planning from Refinery 29, which sounds like a great partner in this. Now, the tickets are now live for BeautyCon 2024 that will take place November 2nd and 3rd in Los Angeles. Their Instagram post about the event says, get unprecedented access to your favorite brands and creators, plus the opportunity to meet hundreds of other beauty lovers just like you. Here are the ticket prices. So we have $49 tickets. That's for 1 day general admission. For 2-day general admission, it's $79. Or you have the VIP weekend pass. Of course, that's 2 days, so that is $249. The general admission tickets, plus of course the VIP, will get access to experience live interviews, panel discussions, and engage in unfiltered real talk with your favorite voices in beauty. That's what the website says. VIP also adds on a couple of things. You will get early entry 1 hour before the event, both days. You also get access to the VIP lounge with complimentary food and drink. You also get front of the line for meet and greets. You get priority check-in and an exclusive creator bag filled with products, as well as surprise gifts and exclusive offers. I don't know what that means because it's a surprise. To give you an idea of what they're saying is going to happen at BeautyCon in the fall, they say it includes a masterclass stage, a beauty school learning experience, a shopping area called SoCo Market. Now, they didn't say that it was specifically K-beauty focused, but it sounds K-beauty like. There's also a creator studio for creating content at the event and a history of beauty museum section. Unlike the pre-2020 BeautyCon events, this doesn't seem to be influencer focused at all. It seems a lot more pro focused. So the celebrities that are going to be there, that are going to be the speakers, are Jonathan Van Ness and Justine Marjan, who are the hairstylists. Then we have makeup artist Kelly Ann Sewell and Sir John, as well as the co-founders of Summer Fridays, Mariana Hewitt and Lauren Ireland. And then also there's going to be a Refinery 29 editors there, Sophia Dennis, Sarah Tan, and Akili King. That's it. That's what's happening. And I think if you're super into hair or makeup, or you love Summer Fridays and you love them, this is going to be extremely attractive, but it's definitely not the same pull, I feel like, that BeautyCon used to have to a wide range of people. So I hope that it goes super well. I hope everybody has a fantastic time. Like I was saying, I don't feel the pull to fly all the way across the country. I'm on the East Coast, and of course, this is on the West Coast. I don't feel the pull to go to this event. I don't feel like it was made for me. Like, I don't feel like I'm the target audience for it, so I won't be attending. But if you end up attending, definitely come back and let me know what you thought of it, how it all went. It just feels a little more IMATSy to me rather than the way that BeautyCon and Gen Beauty were back in the day. Just as a heads up though, if you were planning on going, the ticket prices that I just read to you are actually the early bird prices, and prices are supposed to be going up on September 2nd. And again, let me know if you plan on going. And in business news this week, this story has been going around for a really long time, but it has been made official. The Estee Lauder company's president and CEO, Fabrizio Freda, is officially leaving the company. He has informed the board of directors of his intention to retire at the end of fiscal year 2025 until his successor is appointed. He will continue his position running the company. And reportedly, the board is far into the process of picking a new CEO, and once a successor has been renamed, Fabrizio will work with them to ensure a smooth transition, and he will continue to be available in fiscal year 2026 as an advisor. Fabrizio is 66 years old, and he has run Estee Lauder since 2009 when he replaced William P. Lauder, who was the grandson of Estee Lauder. Reportedly, Fabrizio's compensation for his work in 2022 was $25.5 million per year. If you're thinking Estee Lauder and all you're thinking of is double wear and the Estee Lauder brand, just know Estee Lauder is so much bigger than that because they are a parent company. They're a parent company to so many brands, including Bobbi Brown, Aveda, Bumble & Bumble, Clinique, Dr. Jart, Glam Glow, La Mer, MAC, Origins, Smashbox, Tom Ford Beauty, and Too Faced, as well as both of the Abnormal Beauty companies, Nyad and The Ordinary. And this may be a good time to exit because the Estee Lauder Companies has reported its results for its fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Net sales decreased 2% compared to the prior year for a total of $15.6 billion. Net earnings stood at just $390 million compared to last year's $1 billion. That is a lot. That is a lot. And it seems like the weakest links in the Estee Lauder chain are skincare and hair care. Both of those categories dropped 4%, while makeup sales declined 1%. Their hero category, the star category, were fragrance sales that went up by just 1%. When Estee Lauder is asked why this is happening, they're blaming China. They're saying that sales in China are down, which I'm sure they are, but as a US consumer that is looking at these list of brands, I'm like, yeah, we're having some issues here. So like, for example, Glam Glow, Smashbox, even MAC, they're not nearly as popular as they were when Fabrizio took the job back in 2009, like really and truly. Glam Glow hasn't made a comeback since that glitter mask they came out with in 2017. Do you remember that? I got so much crap for reviewing that mask. Oh my gosh. What I think happened and what the downfall of Glam Glow was is that it was all very expensive. It was a lot of really fun, very nice smelling products. But when people started learning what ingredients did in cosmetics, they realized that Glam Glow's active ingredients were absolute not there. I was going to say crap, but they're not there. They just didn't have good ingredient decks. People didn't know that before because they weren't educated on ingredients, but the more of the scientists that were coming out, the cosmetics chemists coming out, the dermatologists coming out, educating about ingredients, people were looking at Glam Glow like, why are you selling me wet plastic to put on my face with glitter in it? Because it's not actually doing anything for my skin. And they haven't come back since then, at least in my perspective from my, where I'm looking. Smashbox also has had a really hard time coming back. They really need to improve their eyeshadow formula. They need to do more than primers. Their primer is their hero product. It's really good. They have a range of them that I've heard are very good, but they need to sell more than primers. They need other hero products. And I think one way that they can really step it up is their eyeshadow formula is absolute garbage. And it could be so much better. It could be so much better. And MAC just doesn't stand out anymore. There are so many high quality products that are just as good as MAC products out there. I mean, you can disagree with me. I know there are a lot of MAC fans that are probably going to freak out on me, but I'm just saying there's a lot of competition that wasn't there in 2009 that, MAC just needs to step it up somehow. And I feel like they've gone gone on the right track with a few different products where it's really standing out in the market, but I feel like they need to do even more. What I'm trying to say in all of this is I feel like all of the brands that are under the Estee Lauder umbrella, all the problems that they've had, I think they're all fixable. I think they just need fresh leadership, honestly. So I'm looking forward to seeing what a new CEO and president can do for these companies. I don't usually include editorial pieces in WhatsUpIn makeup. I'm usually more like event and fact-based and things, but I found this one absolutely fascinating, and I think you will too. The title of this article from Business Insider was Beauty YouTube Creators Turned TikTok into QVC. I'll have it linked down below, but it is behind a paywall, so I'm going to give you as much information as I can without giving you all of the information, because I'm not allowed to do that per, when you sign up as a subscription to something, you can't just show the article. But I'll tell you basically what happened. The editorial perspective is from their writer. Her name is Amanda Krause. And Amanda narrates this experience of being on TikTok. And she's scrolling, and it stops on a live stream of Jeffree Star. And in that video, Jeffree is promoting Jeffree Star Cosmetics. He's got a lip gloss, and he's just kind of going through different products that are in his line. She watched that for a little bit, and then she moved on, and about 10 minutes later she was suggested another live stream, this time ironically enough from Tati Westbrook. And Tati was doing essentially the same thing, but not her own brand, because of course Tati Beauty doesn't exist right now, even though she's working on that happening. She said that Tati, quote, attempted to sell me a hair curler, and to her it was cringy. She said that instead of their natural voices that she was used to, they sounded, quote, like anxious sales reps trying to get my attention, and that there was a blatant urge to sell. She noted that there were other people commenting similar things. One person reportedly said, I'm sad. I used to be able to trust all of your reviews because you were doing it for the love of the game, not commission. And then another person said, you are getting worse than Kylie Jenner. On Jeffree's live stream, one person commented, it's every other day, some kind of BS sale or relaunch. I miss the old Jeffree Star. This new desperate JS sucks. But then Amanda kind of turns things a little bit and shares a different perspective, and actually shares that she thinks that this sales technique on TikTok is actually really smart. She writes, quote, they're using a free platform to directly sell to consumers while also increasing their brand awareness. So for Jeffree, of course, Jeffree Star Cosmetics, and for Tati, it's the Tati brand. It's the Tati Westbrook brand. And we've talked about this in a previous week, that Tati has said she's specifically selling on TikTok so that she can relaunch Tati Beauty, so she can get that funding in order to relaunch her brand. Amanda also notes how much the beauty landscape has changed over the last few years since the collective, trifecta of Dramageddons, and also since the global pandemic. And she says that, quote, beauty YouTubers found themselves floundering. But to be fair, floundering for them is like a dream to most of us. Because, yes, they were getting millions of views, and they're not getting millions of views anymore, but they're still doing pretty well in the grand scheme of things. I did crunch some numbers just to give you an idea. So for these creators, I took their last 5 videos and found the average number of views. So James Charles has averaged 821,000 views over the last 5 videos. Nikki Tutorials is averaging 891,000 views. Creators like Jaclyn Torrey are averaging 383,000 views, and Tati Westbrook is only generating 107,000 views per video, which is really low for Tati. I mean, all of these people, they used to easy hit 1 million views, easy, multi millions of views. And Jeffree Star, he left YouTube when he started dropping below consistently 1 million views. He was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not, worth it to me anymore to get less than 1 million views. Now, this, in the perspective, I said this a lot recently, I have literally one video that's over 1 million views. So 100,000 views average per video is amazing for me. Like, I will take it. And I've been doing this 12 years. But for them, I understand the stress because, you know, you get used to a certain lifestyle. You've purchased a house, you have purchased cars, you have bills to pay that are more expensive than someone that wasn't rolling in it like that. So you have to try to push to maintain that high level of income so you can maintain your current lifestyle. So I totally get it. But to say they're floundering, I don't know if they're floundering really, but they're just doing not nearly as good as they used to. Because the other thing about this that's something to consider is that when views go down on YouTube, then the sponsorships on YouTube are not going to pay as well, because usually they look at the number of views as kind of a pay point of, you know, how much you're going to get paid. If you average 1 million views a video, you're going to get paid way more than somebody that averages 100,000 views a video, because you're just naturally going to hit more eyes. It just makes sense. Amanda suggests that YouTube influencers watched as they were replaced by TikTok stars like Michaela Nogueira, and then decided recently to hop platforms, realizing how much money there was to be made over on TikTok. I think Amanda did a really good job with this, and she really captured the gist of everything. And I feel like this too in the very last line of the article, where she says beauty influencers no longer need audiences to worship them, watching every clip they post across every social media platform. Instead, they just need us to stick around long enough to make a purchase. And I think she's absolutely right. We don't need that parasocial connection to influencers in order for influencers to make money anymore. You can just go over to TikTok and it's so much easier. Let me just say how much easier it is to do a live stream. I've been live streaming since 2014, 2013, every single Sunday. Live streaming is so much easier than getting ready for a video, filming it and editing it and doing a thumbnail and all of that. Like, you literally just have to turn on your camera. I mean, of course, there has to be a plan in place and you have to know what you're going to say. You have to know what product, but it's not nearly as hard as producing a YouTube video. And if you're in the end earning just as much money for a fraction of the amount of work, it doesn't make any sense to go over to YouTube and do an edited video. You know what I'm saying? So from a creation standpoint, I completely understand what's happening. And the thing is it doesn't matter if we don't like it. I will be 100% with you. I have never gone over and watched a makeup TikTok live. It's just not my jam. I can't get into it. I'm not looking to buy anything. I don't find them compelling or interesting, but I never watched QVC or HSN either. But the point of this segment is they don't need us. If you're like me, they don't need us, because there are plenty of people that do really like it. And in legal news this week, collagen. We're talking about collagen today, and collagen is all over marketing these days. It is the most abundant protein in our bodies. It is mostly found in our skin, and a lot of people have a basic understanding of collagen in the skin, in that when we lose collagen as we get older, or collagen just doesn't produce as fast as it used to, that's when we start getting wrinkles and our skin starts sagging. So people want to encourage their collagen production as long as possible. Where the marketing comes in is in the topical application of collagen. Many people who are not familiar see a product and it says collagen on it, and they think that it is going to automatically encourage collagen production in the skin, which is not real. It's scientifically not possible, because the collagen molecule is too large to seep into the lower layers of the skin. Literally, all it can do is a little bit of moisturizing, hydrating on the very top layer. It has zero long-term effects. It is all just temporary. But cosmetic companies, skincare companies know this, and they still put collagen as part of the title of their products because they know it works in selling products. And that leads us to today's proposed class action lawsuit against Pixi Cosmetics. It alleges that they have falsely advertised that some of their cosmetics contain collagen under the guise of a fake version of collagen. The 16-page complaint says that although collagen appears prominently on the front labels of certain Pixi beauty products, the cosmetics do not contain the ingredient at all. Instead, they say the products are made with acacia sayal gum extract, which they call a, quote, highly processed fake imitation of collagen derived from the bark and stems of the acacia sayal tree. The complaint claims that all of the Pixi collagen products use this ingredient to market their collagen products and use this ingredient instead of traditional forms of collagen to, quote, attempt to turn a greater profit, as traditional forms of animal-based collagen are substantially pricier than the plant-based imitation. Now, it is important to note that this is not a formal class action suit yet. There is a plaintiff, but this is kind of the precursor to the actual lawsuit. This is just a complaint. The lawyers in the case are looking to represent more people who purchased these collagen products thinking there was animal collagen in them and that they would not have purchased them if they realized it was a plant-based collagen. So here is my take on it as a non-lawyer who just has been looking at this stuff for years. The whole thing is such bullshit, and the reason why it's bullshit is that none of this matters to the customer. None of it matters. I'm going to explain why. The major piece that we as consumers need to understand is what I was saying earlier, in that collagen advertised on a product, even if it was animal collagen, does not have any long-term anti-aging effects. It is just maybe a little bit of temporary plumping of the skin and basic hydration that you can get from many, many other ingredients. It's just a buzzword at this point. It is manipulative from the core, in that marketers know that people think that the collagen will help with collagen production, and that's why they use it, because it sells product. The other thing we need to know about this is there really truly is no such thing as vegan collagen, because collagen in its inherent nature has to come from animals. However, brands can use a plant-based alternative that essentially does the exact same thing on the skin as animal-based collagen, and that's what's happening here. That they both, the animal kind and the plant kind, essentially don't do anything special. If you look up the ingredient that the proposed class action is talking about, you'll find the common cosmetic uses for this ingredient. The Acacia Sayal gum, and this is what you'll find. It is basically a tree sap, and what they do is they turn it into a powder that they then put into the product. And the most common uses for this are to help the product feel smoother, to help it adhere better to the skin. It also functions as a thickening agent, as a stabilizer, or to help the water and the oil in the product mix. If a product is sticky, the Acacia Sayal gum will then help it to not be as sticky. That's what the ingredient sites say, but if you go to the marketing sites, the people that make this product in order to sell it to brands, you can see where Pixi's claims come from. So for example, this one website says that this ingredient helps to retain moisture in the skin, leading to a plumping effect that can reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, also known as a humectant. Other common humectants are hyaluronic acid and glycerin. Again, it is just affecting that top layer of the skin, very similar to other humectants and very similar to animal-based collagen. It does essentially the same thing, so I get it. But whether you're using animal-based or plant-based, it's still misleading to the customer, because it's still not going to do what customers think it's going to do, which is going to enhance the collagen production on the lower layers of the skin, which neither of these ingredients can do. Here is a little clip from the proposed class action, and essentially what this says is that because the plaintiff believed the marketing claims of animal-based collagen, he was tricked into buying relatively useless plant collagen instead of relatively useless animal collagen, and he wants to sue Pixi because of it. Personally, I am looking forward to the day, probably 100 years from now after I am long gone, when brands are actually held accountable for their marketing, when you actually have to prove that your product does something in order to market it and say that it does the thing. As a side note, there was a very similar lawsuit that was just settled about a month ago against Dr. Dennis Gross for pretty much the exact same thing. Instead of the tree sap that they're using, they use something called collagen amino acids. And the way this class action was set up was they said that because the product was labeled as vegan, that these collagen amino acids could not have been animal-based and therefore were also fake collagen. And the way that shook out was essentially Dr. Dennis Gross's team said, you know, we didn't do anything wrong, but at the same time, we want to end this. So we're just going to pay it out. And actually, the form is going to be down below in case you feel like you should be part of this class action. And essentially, you would get a refund for those products. They are planning to pay out $9.2 million for this suit. And you might be wondering to yourself right now, why don't they use real collagen boosters and protectors in order to market their products? And the reason why they're not doing that is because of FDA regulations, that if you're changing the function or structure of the skin, it is technically a drug here in the US. So like sunscreens have drug facts on them. This product would also have to have drug facts on them, or it would have to be prescription only. That's why like things like tretinoin are prescription only, because they claim to help with the lower layers of the skin. They do something to the structure of the skin. It's not just a topical application. So that's why brands literally can't market that a product will increase your collagen production, even if that is something that it will do, because then they'd have to go through all kinds of other regulations in order to get drug facts on their products. If you are concerned about collagen loss in your skin, the number one thing you can do, and I will say it until the day that I die, wear sunscreen. That is the number one way to age your skin faster. Also, if you smoke, stop smoking, because that's also a way that you are aging your skin faster. Finally, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that eating a high sugar, high processed carbohydrate diet is also a contributor to collagen loss in the skin. So those are things that you can do that have nothing to do with applying topical collagen that will definitely not help increase the collagen production of the lower layers of your skin. Along with leaving all of the links to the articles and the lawsuit and everything down below, I'll also leave an article link of ingredients that can actually help to either encourage collagen production or protect the collagen that you already have. All my links are always in the description box down below. I always like to end What's Up in Makeup with a lighthearted story, and I couldn't find one this week, so I resorted to going over to TikTok and found a cute little video to show you. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to play the music in here. Just know it's basically saying, "Bitch, you're dumb," is words over and over again. You'll get the point when you see it. If you were just listening, it is a woman in a full beat and she is rubbing her eyes. And the text says, when you just spent 3 hours on a look and somehow forget. Yeah, I've done that so many times of, you know, I'm about to film and then my eye gets itchy and I rub and then all of a sudden my makeup is everywhere. And it's like, why did I do that? And I thought we could all probably relate to that. So that's why I wanted to show you, just to kind of end it on something, you know, not quite so serious. And that, my friend, was What's Up in Makeup top news this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. And thank you, as always, to the What's Up in Makeup Facebook hunters. Their names are scrolling below me. Thank you for all of your submissions this week to the show to help me to make sure that I don't miss anything. I appreciate the time you take to submit things over there. Thank you so much. Our live chat today is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you can join us. We're going to be hanging out live, talking about makeup if you would like to join us. If you can't join us live, it's no problem at all. It's very easy to find on the replay. If you're subscribed, just go to your subscription feed like I was mentioning earlier. Just head over there. It should be right there for you. If you're not subscribed, you can click down in the video description. There is the What's Up in Makeup live chat podcast. You can check and see all of the live chats we've done over the last year and a half or so, or you can head over to my channel page, click on the live tab, and all of my live chats are housed there as well. Thank you so much for watching What's Up in Makeup. I appreciate you. If you are not ready to go, fantastic. Love to have you. YouTube should be recommending a couple videos over here for you to watch. The bottom one I'm going to pick out for you, it's last week's episode of What's Up in Makeup Top News. Top one YouTube's going to pick for you based on your current viewing history. But if you've got to go, you got stuff to do, it's no problem at all. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did, and mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye!